experiments nowadays, the big accelerator experiments, you know one little piece of the experiment and you don't know the overall system. You can't play with the overall system like you can on a small experiment like this. The other advantage of these balloon instruments is that they're much cheaper than a satellite instrument, and so you can test detectors and test things at a relatively inexpensive cost as opposed to flying, launching something on the shuttle, which is extremely expensive, or even launching an experiment on a rocket, which is pretty expensive.
It's a very much more hands-on way of doing experiments than the classic space experiment, where basically scientists and students aren't allowed to touch the experiment. It's done by professional technicians and engineers. Instead, we get to actually go and build things ourselves and fly them, and it's much faster.
Neat. Kind of scary to have the whole thing fly right over your head.
Launching, when at this point, well, it's good.
Oh, beautiful.
I wonder whether data taking will be good or not.
We have to look at data. Yeah, those guys really working hard. It takes about a year or more.
1 year.
Yeah. To understand what's coming. And actually we should observe more than 100 million cosmic rays should pass through our detector during this experiment.
We're about 14 and a half hours into the flight. Actually, it's more like about 17 and a half since we launched. We've been here all night. We're ready to shut this thing down over here. We've met the minimums, which means it's a successful flight.
Scientific package has a transmitter on it, so we know exactly where it's located all the time. And I'm watching the balloon as it's coming down. It's just a big silver blob that's falling, and we watch it all the way to the ground.
Well, I think this is really a great example of how science ought to work. It's a very active and hands-on approach to making important measurements, and it's a great way to do it.